So a few months ago, I sat down with Simon Harris and his Commonhood podcast, and we made this recording talking about marriage, divorce, and all sorts of other things. And I wanted to include it here on the Divorce Depot, and I hope you enjoy it.
This episode is brought to you by Gainesville Podcast Studio and Dynasty Solutions, a video production and live streaming company.
Welcome. Another moment with Commonhood. I'm your host, Simon P., and today I have the lovely Dr. Elinor Robin. She's from the hustle and bustle of New York City and South Florida, but she has found her way to the lovely, beautiful city of Gainesville, Florida. Thank you so much for coming. And as always, I have my business partner who's in the background. I always mention his name, Nehemiah Harmon, that's with Dynasty Solutions. So anybody ever needs some podcast information or some corporate sponsorship, call my man Nehemiah at dynastysolutions.com. Is that .net? .net. Okay, all right. Dr. Elinor Robin has a psychology PhD with a specialization with conflict management. She's licensed as a mental health counselor and licensed as a marriage and family therapist. Yes. She has a very popular article that she wrote in Forbes magazine, I believe, called The 8 Steps to 8 Strategies to Find a Perfect Business. But we're going to come back to that article because I kind of changed it around just a little bit. Okay. And she is married to her husband here and has raised, I believe, 2 beautiful children. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
What made me seek her out was, first of all, my business partner was doing business with you, Mr. Nehemiah Harmon, and she gave me an opportunity, and I was curious, a divorce attorney doing podcasts, or what are they selling over there? Like, who wants to talk about a divorce? Those things are painful. So, but you had a very unique concept about this topic of divorce. So my ignorance had me thinking you was an attorney, that you're a vulture, you're preying on people's emotions, but it was totally different. You had an emphasis on preparation services to get you ready for hopefully a smooth divorce and giving clients services wearing 3 hats. And I went through a divorce, so the 3 hats that you wore was in being a mediator, a mental health counselor, because it does set you back a little bit, and then marrying family, but it's all into one. Yes. And I had never seen no concept like that. Normally, it's a fight when there's a divorce. There's some pain and hurt. And to see that you was prepping ones to get ready for the date or prevent all the attorneys. Yes. So my ignorance was, I'm thinking you're an attorney, and it was not the case. A very interesting concept that let me get you ready with prepping for divorce, that you won't have to go through all of these things. Yes. So without further ado, I'm going to let you have the flow, and I'm going to come out with the very first topic, first question I'm interested in.
Yes.
What is it you are getting into when one get married? What would you suggest if 2 lovely lovebirds came to you?
Well, I think when we get married, we are both entering into an emotional partnership and a financial partnership. So originally, marriage was let's say hundreds of years ago, marriage was about 2 families coming together and building their, making things together. It was very much about business. It wasn't until recent times when we came up with this whole idea of marriage being based in love, So for a while, it was about building family, building financial basis. I think often women chose their spouse based on who would provide a financial future for them. I guess men chose their spouse based on who would bring them children And children in, hundreds of years ago, children weren't a financial liability like they are now, where you have to support them and take care of them and send them to college. Children were an asset. They worked on the farm. They worked, whatever we did before the Industrial Revolution. Children were more of an asset. Today, it costs you money to raise your children. So he knows. Nehemiah knows because he's got enough children.
Yes. Yes. But you mentioned that the two things, it was emotional.
Yes.
Now we're going back in the day, not today.
No. Today it's an emotional partnership.
Yeah, you say it's emotional partnership.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the business relationship.
Always there is.
And you mentioned that back in the day it was two families merging.
Yes.
Together. And that's not the case now.
No.
I don't know. We here in America, of course.
Yes.
And they say we are a capitalist society.
Yes.
And a capitalist society says, put up your own boots and you're on your own. And I think that separation of families kind of leaves that two couples that are coming in to marriage to establish it, kind of gets them to set back. So when you had mentioned the emotional part, what are some of the emotions that you're referring to?
I think that the key to a successful marriage is having an emotionally safe space. And I believe there's only one reason why people get divorced, and that is somebody doesn't feel appreciated.
I was thinking of finance.
Well, I'll tell you how it plays out with finance.
Yes.
So if I'm married to somebody and he spends a lot of money, let's say playing golf.
Right.
Or he spends his money on some other toy that he likes. Or he spends his money on alcohol or going out or partying or nice clothes. And I think we should be buying a new refrigerator. You could say it's about money, but it's not really about money. It's about, I think we need this. And because you don't want to give it to me, I feel unappreciated. Because if it was really about money, rich people would never get divorced. And poor people would never be able to stay married. But we know that that's not true. There's a lot of poor people with good marriages. And that's because they work together. They figure out together how to spend their money. They're a true partnership. When people are a true partnership, they have each other's backs. That's the emotional part. And they work together on the finances and the business of the marriage, the housing, the cars, whatever.
But, I experienced all. I've had a divorce and got remarried. And let me tell you how deep it was. First of all, me and my ex, we are friends. We can talk. So it wasn't a hatred thing. It's just whatever the reasons are behind it, it just got to that point.
Yes.
And for me, it was like doing it the second time. I'm like, kind of giving up jurisdiction to some state. That I remember me signing one piece of paper, but when it was time to make a decision, it was 50 pages just to get out.
Yes.
And I was told that I had to agree, or we can get other people involved, like your financial advisors or divorce attorneys,
yes,
or whomever else that feel like they need to be in our business.
Yes.
So it kind of put a distaste about divorce attorneys.
Yes.
So in your case, it was trying to find an equilibrium, but it seemed like your business is to get them back to communicating in order to make a decision.
Yes.
So I think the communication is a very important aspect. It's like you say, if I like playing golf and you like going to the store shop, and women love to go shop and look pretty because we like for them to look pretty. But if we're both doing it excessive and we both feel like, hey, we're trying to pull each other, that could be a problem. But on the jurisdiction part, since it's marriage from back in the day,
yes,
and to now, why did they have to establish a jurisdiction that you actually passing over your rights to the state just because you want to express that you want to build love with somebody? You know, because I agree. I don't think that marriage is just love. I think it's built, just like the trust is built. When did it have to become a jurisdiction for some state entity or government telling that, hey, our blissful romance is over with now, and you got to come through us to get out of it?
I think that is because when a marriage produces children, the state has an interest in the children being supported. And so that's kind of where the state came in, because really, if people have no children, well, in this day and age when, 90% of women work. So in this day and age, if there's no children involved, why should the state be involved? You have two adults, go figure it out and move forward.
Now, not to be devil's advocate. When I went through it, I was like, where was the state before we decided to separate? You didn't worry about my children then.
Right.
They're not in your system no kind of way. So why is it I need your presence now?
I think it's because when you were there, married, those children are clearly your responsibility. But at the time of divorce, well, people have a tendency to kind of disappear. And like, if you're getting divorced today and you go in front of a judge, I don't care where you are in this country. For the most part, if people agree, the judges really don't care what they're agreeing to, except for the children. Especially the payment of the children. So the judges don't want to see, the courts don't want to see children becoming dependent on the system. And if they only have one parent responsible for their upkeep, the children are going to need some kind of services from the state.
But indirectly, whether we were together or not, we're all kind of somewhat dependent upon the government.
Yes.
So to now all of a sudden to tell me that you have to be so involved, I didn't like the experience. Luckily for my spouse at that time, she let them know the problem is not with him providing and doing for the child. We having a problem.
Yes.
But I did not like the experience of the judge asking 3 different times in a court setting, like, we're not going to allow you to come back if you don't settle this now. So I kind of feel like, oh, you're forcing.
Yes.
You're forcing an issue when that we've displayed that we've did this without the state. And it makes me go to the next question of thinking, like, why are the divorce rates so high? Just give me your opinion on that.
I think the divorce rates are so high because marriage is difficult. This is not easy. What you were talking about before, about having family support, a lot of people don't have family support.
Right.
Everything is resting on
those 2 people.
Yes.
Yes.
And you got 2 people who work. They've got busy schedules. They've got kids who have needs. The housing is difficult and expensive.
Yes.
Everything life is difficult. And the way we live now with, in this nuclear family, 2 parents and a bunch of children.
But you can't even imagine having so many kids now. I think the average person is 1 or 2 kids, where back in the day when it was way less involvement, it seemed like the families were together in order to real family. So I guess the old adage of it takes a village to raise
a child, definitely.
That's not like that now in the millennium time that we live in today.
Yes. And so you don't, many people do not have that family support. They're all spread out over the country. And the parents or spouses, if there's no children, they're looking at each other trying to figure out, what are you doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm working really hard. Are you working as hard as me? If you're not working as hard as me, well, then I feel unappreciated. And that's when the emotional bond starts to fall apart.
Right. And I guess that addresses when I said earlier, I thought it was a financial, but you're saying no, it's the support of everybody thinking that those two people supposed to do all of this by themselves.
Well, and they're looking at each other, and every time somebody doesn't, the finances is one of the ways in this country, really one of the few ways we have to show other people that we value them is through money. So if we have this limited resources, there could be millions of dollars, or it could be, $100. Whatever it is, we are limited in our resources. And if I want to spend those resources on something that makes me feel good, and you want to spend the resources on what makes you feel good, and I go out and spend them, you're going to start getting angrier and angrier, and the emotional bond starts wearing away. It gets thin. And once that emotional bond is cracked, one of them wants a divorce.
Got it. So we're going to come back to that statement on vision based off an article you had written in the Forbes. I got to keep that in my memory bank. So all this time I thought some of the common factors, just naturally, I was thinking it'd be, normally they say when you divorce, if it's a man, what you did.
Yes.
Did you beat her? Did you cheat?
Right.
I've never heard it say the support of two families supposed to be merging to help provide support to those two lovely couples, and more support when they have kids. But we do have that attitude of kind of like, stand back. It's your problems. Y'all work it out. And you're saying that that's just way too much energy to put on two people that have to work, try to deal with the elements of work, come home, kids in school, this and that, and nobody wants to support. That is America right now.
Yes, it is.
That is America right now. But it used to be totally different from what my parents have said. That they thought when two people got together, they try to share the families. They try to share those families. So how do we get away from God's covenant to this business arrangement?
How do we do it?
Yeah, no, how do we get away from marriage supposed to be like a God's covenant?
Yes.
I don't want to get religious, but we're in the western part of the world.
Yes.
Most of us are 90% Christians.
Yes.
And they say marriage is one of the covenants of God.
Yes.
So now it's really a business arrangement.
I think that having marriage education to some extent would be helpful. The problem is often people getting married, they don't want to listen to what usually the marriage educator is somebody from some religious institution. Right. That's just the way it works. Right. And they don't want to really listen to what that person is saying, because when we first meet the beloved, we get such a hormone wash that it's like we're now wearing blinders.
Right.
And you don't, physically, brain chemistry, people do not see this new spouse, the spouse to be. They really do not see them realistically. It takes 3 years for those hormones to completely settle down. And now they can see each other. And now we see each other in reality. And then you have to decide, is this where I really want to be or not? So I don't think I think
they should change the marriage contract.
Yes. To
really give, they say 2 years is the honeymoon phase.
Yes.
But you said the number 3.
Well, it could be up to 3 years.
So those up to 3 years, I think there's a lot of validity to that. That once the honeymoon phase is over, we trying to see each other.
Yes.
And if that's the case, do you think that'll trigger more people saying, well, this ain't working, I'm out? Or do you think the rules are forcing you to go through this long, hideous process of divorce is something to make you think about? Let me give it up a little. Let me give it up a little bit more and keep trying, because I truly believe, and I said it earlier, that marriage to me, that I may look and say, "Wow, you're beautiful, you're sexy," and we start talking, then we get to marriage. But until you start living together as marriage requires you to do, it takes a while to build that true love and trust. Because as you said, you're trying to get to know each other and to mirror these two different personalities together that you've never seen. So me personally, I think it's very difficult. Even though I'm married now, I'm still, it's work.
Yes.
It's like,
it is work.
It's work, and you don't always get your way.
That's it. You don't always get your way. And we have to know that,
Right.
that we're not always going to get our way.
If you could do your magic wand, what different you would change with the marital contract that we be signing off and we don't know about?
Well, if I had a magic wand, I'm going to leave the marriage contract for a minute. The divorce, divorces do not belong in a courthouse. That is ridiculous. Divorce is not a legal problem. It's a personal problem. How they ended up in the courthouse, I don't know. I think it was because the state had an interest in protecting children and probably in protecting a woman who had no means of support. But the reality is, I believe, if you were married by Mr. Ex-Minister, Mr. Ex-Minister should be in charge of your uncoupling process if you have to get divorced.
Is that law as well?
No.
Like you have to have a minister?
No. Whoever married you should have a say in how you now unmarry. Why do we go to the courts to unmarry? Now, I know some people have very, very complex finances. You know what? Then maybe accountants or financial planners or somebody else should be handling their divorce. I don't know why we ended up in this big mess.
It is a mess
of the courts.
I think it deters everybody to not get married as well.
Yes,
and sometimes you heard the word that it's cheaper to keep her.
Yes,
or it's cheaper to keep him, with women being as equal now for as making money now. So I can understand a little bit from how it used to be just a sit-home person, raise the kids, and all of a sudden the man say, "I'm out of here."
Yes,
that I can see that it triggered. But still, even with it happening, it shouldn't have to go through that process first. It should be allowed to go through these different sets of people, individuals with your skill set.
Yes.
And then if you determine, okay, I'm handling the emotional part for y'all to calm down, now I may need to call an accountant and to see a financial planner, or whatever, to bring those guys in last. But normally, for me, it felt like you feel like a victim. Luckily, we didn't have to get any lawyers. My thing is just, hey, let me just walk out. I did the best I could. But what I knew, I understand it. So, but when the blissfulness is gone and the breakup happened,
yeah, that's it. It's hard. It's hard.
It's so hard. That is so
But that's
hard.
if I had a magic wand. So I don't have a magic wand, and so I know we have to work around the existing structure, which is people are going to get divorced in the courthouse. What we do is we try to do all the paperwork. We do all the paperwork.
That's the preparation services.
Yes. Before they go in front of a judge. So this way, by the time we file it in the courthouse, everything is done. They've signed the agreement. They have a parenting plan. They have all the documents that they need so that a judge can just look at it and kind of rubber stamp it. Yes, this looks good. Goodbye.
And if I was a divorce attorney, I may have a problem with you.
Yes, you probably would.
How much kickback you get from people that find out about you, and how much do they try to discredit what you do to say, no, you need an attorney. Like, do you get that a lot?
I don't.
That's great.
And I think we don't, because they probably know we're not really very much of a threat. The percentage of people who choose to use a service like mine is still fairly small, mostly because they don't know that it exists.
No, it's not. It's not. I wonder why when they offer you, they do offer you, if I remember correct, they do offer you counseling. But is it something that you think that before you say no and it's over, that they should kind of force people to come your way?
Well, no, we don't really do any counseling. We're really just doing the nuts and bolts of how we should separate this marriage. If somebody comes to us and they're not ready for a divorce, if one or both of them thinks there's still hope for saving the marriage, I send them elsewhere to a counselor. It's not something we do. We really just take a couple who says, yes, there's no hope here anymore. We're getting divorced. Even if one of them still is holding on, the other one has to say, no, we're definitely getting divorced. And if he or she doesn't come to mediation, then I'm going to have to hire a lawyer. Then that's our client is
So
somebody who says
when
that.
when your services, when I read about you, kind of Web3 hats, that you're a marriage and families counselor, you're a mediator.
It's my background.
And you're a mental health counselor. I'm like,
Yes.
Whoa, you're not just getting
No.
a person that's just saying that's just transactional.
No, what we're
That you-
doing is really, for the most part, transactional. It's just that I bring that background to the table, so I try to see the bigger picture beyond
Right.
the lawyers don't want to sit there and talk about how did this happen.
But in some instances, you can see the mental health coming in
Yes.
to be able to, I guess, utilize a certain language that you're taught.
Yes.
To bring the calmness down in the storm
Yes.
that's happening.
Yes.
So I can see that now. That those that are great attorneys, I can tell that they probably would have studied or try to relate that they are counselors.
Yes.
And they are trying to be as nice as possible, but at the end of the day, they're there to destroy
The other side.
the other side.
Right. That's it. That's it. The legal system is set up as an adversarial process. There's two sides.
Right.
Whereas when you have people taking apart a marriage, a home, a family, there's not two sides. There's only one side. How do we move forward? That's it. That's the question that has to be answered.
How do we move forward? How about this question then? Before I say I do,
Yes.
and it's too late for me because I'm in it. But the legalities, what legalities should you consider before you get married? Based off of your comment on how we are today, that it has become a truly business arrangement.
Okay.
So back in the day, these days, it's still unpopular for a man to be the stay at home. And
Yes.
then the divorce happens. Oh, he a man anyway. He shouldn't have been, why should he have to pay a man that? But on the flip side, when a man is the sole provider and he decides, this not working, it seems like, at least from what I see, that it's not a fair system at that point for whatever the reasons
Well-
are. Now, I know the higher marriages, some of the celebrities that have $3 million.
Yeah.
If it's Beyonce marrying me, she's gonna say, $5 million to get rid of you.
Right.
You didn't have nothing before that, but that's not common with most.
Right.
That's not
Right.
common with most.
Right.
So I wonder, what would your advice be? How strong would you feel about a prenup?
I feel really strong about a prenup. Now, when you get
That's
to
for having or not having?
you
Having.
must have a prenup.
Okay.
If you get two people who get married at a
Okay.
very young age, and both of them have nothing, I still think they should have some kind of a prenup. But as soon as you get people who, you have a house, I don't have a house. You have a retirement account, I don't have a retirement account. You have this, I have this. what you have children that you have to pay money for, and I don't have whatever it is. If people beyond their 20s, let's say,
right,
are getting married, they are fools and looking for aggravation if they don't have a prenup. And I'll tell you something why even if there's no money, if you say, I think we should have a prenup, and I say to you, oh no, you want to turn this into a business. If I'm
that's how.
Okay, but if I'm not willing,
exactly,
yes,
yeah.
If I'm not willing to sit down and have this conversation with you before we get married, about how we're going to handle our finances,
right.
Now, while we're in the honeymoon window, and everything should be beautiful, if I can't sit down and have this conversation with you now, because it's too controversial or difficult or too much like a business, what's going to happen 5 years from now when we have to have a difficult conversation?
And the conversation is going to be...
It's difficult.
It's going to become difficult at some point.
When you say prenup and somebody says no, they are telling you more about who they really are and what kind of partner they're going to be in the future.
Well, how do you address the comment when a male or female say, well, you already thinking about the end of discussing this prenup? Like, what's the purpose? You already trying to plan an end out and not a commitment. Because that's what they consider marriage. Going back to the God's covenant, yes. And then it's a commitment. Like every time there's a mistake done, you're not looked to be saying, "Oh, I'm out of here."
Right.
I saw you staring at that guy. I'm out of here.
Right. Well, in my perfect world, which I don't have the magic wand, we've already determined. Right. But if I did, the prenup would not only address the end, it would address the middle. So it would say, this is how we're going to manage our finances. This is how we're going to live. This is what percentage of our income we're going to save. This is what our important financial goals are. The prenup should really, in my mind, talk about all that.
Right.
And
why do you think it's not mandatory to have it in law that it should be there, not after the fact? Because it's kind of like, hey, I'm 18, I'm grown, and you go out to the house and your parents be like, you will find out. You don't have to listen to Papa no more. Go ahead and go out there and you will find out. And then the kid get out there and credit card debt, all these things that it's like, wow. It happens. So
yes,
as going back from it being a covenant by God to this Western, we live in the Western part that predominantly is Christianity.
Yes.
That it's supposed to be a sacred moment in time to have this arrangement. It's a sacred moment in time of two people who think they know what love is, but until they start living together, then you realize that the trust is built, that love is kind of built. But is it a setup? That's my feeling. I feel like it's a setup.
I think it is a setup.
It's a setup.
And, when we were talking before about what is commonhood, in many ways, what commonhood is, as I understand it, is you're trying to give people a financial education.
All walks of life.
Yes.
This information, the right information for every situation.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to do here.
And so when we get married, because we know it's so difficult, we should be giving people the right information, the education. But because they have that hormone wash going on, a lot of times they won't listen. But if we made them sit down and have this conversation, and they're going to have to sign their name on a piece of paper,
right,
then maybe they wouldn't be so eager to say, yes, whatever you say, oh, that's going to be great. Oh, sure, I don't care. I'm fine. if they had to sign the piece of paper, that would push them into this part of their brain, the thinking part of the brain.
Let's just say if you're in it, can you go back and say, we ain't divorced yet, but we're going to go ahead and now bring a prenup? You can only get a prenup.
No.
Before you're married.
No. You can get a post-nup.
You can get a post-nup.
Nup. And in the post-nup, you can agree to all these things. And the reason to do it is because we know all the other reasons, aside from what I've said, if you...
that's the first time that I've ever heard of a post-nup.
Oh, well, but it's a thing. I didn't make it up.
You didn't make it up?
No. It's a thing.
I never heard of a post-nup.
A post-nup. And the reason...
And you got me thinking before you go with your idea, like, if I could legally bind and say, okay, we don't sign the prenup now. So let's say before we get the first three, let's just say we get into this and I find out you don't like to do this, you don't like to do that, and you like for me to go make the money or vice versa, or your career makes more money than my career. So, okay, now we need to address. This is year 3.
Yes.
So now we got this in place in year 3. None of us had nothing. Now we can do our post-nup. Is that how I'm reading this?
Yes. And the reason to do it, one reason to do it is because if in fact the marriage goes south and it's going to end.
Well, over 50% of the marriages does. So
if it's going to end.
Yeah.
And you have to start playing that legal game. What a mess. So if you have it all arranged in advance, if something should happen, does anybody want it to happen? No. Nobody ever wants it to happen. Everybody gets married wanting this to last forever.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes
Things happen. People change. There's all sorts of surprises in life.
Nothing against religion here. But do you think, is that the way it was sold?
I think it was sold that way.
It's packaged in a way that says, this is the right thing to do. I'm sure if a pastor was here, he'd probably be like, I disagree with you. They supposed to trust, commit, and post-nup, prenup shows that you already do not trust me at all. You already predicting the outcome of this godly covenant that we have.
I would have to say, Pastor, you're a little naive.
Naive is the word that it possibly
You're naive. Yeah. Look at the people who were sitting there in your congregation, Pastor. How many of them have tried this marriage thing and it didn't work?
And it hadn't worked. But the counseling is not there. I can remember getting out of my situation. I remember they offered saying, if you guys don't have outside counseling, the court services does provide. But by the way, it's actually $200 or $300 at that time. Right. And you're like, it is what it is. We'll make a decision on our own. Luckily, it was able to amicably agree to agree. Yes. And those things work. But I think it need to be. Maybe we need to start something about that. That needs to be something that we have to come back on the prenups, because the only thing matter in a prenup that I see, and I remember everything on it. We know assets are going to be accumulated. Unless you just living under the tree and you're happy with that arrangement.
Yes.
That we have a tent living. When we want to, we go come out. When we don't want to, we go back into the jungle. But that's rare. Not saying, that's rare.
I don't know anybody who lives like that.
At least not in this country. At least not of America. But the assets would be the one thing. What would be your recommendation on that? If you and I was married, I'm a school teacher, and you this massive doctor. So obviously, I'm saying, well, we don't need this $1 million house. And you say, I'm going to buy this $1 million house.
So before we buy the $1 million house, we should figure out when the $1 million house is sold, because eventually it's going to be sold.
Right.
What happens to the money? And we should figure out, how are we going to manage our money? Are we going to have all joint money? What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours? Or are you going to have your money, I'm going to have my money, and then we're going to have a joint money that's going to pay for whatever?
But you do know that most of us are thinking that your money, my money, and my money, your money.
Okay. And if that's what the people want, then
that's what they do.
But what's important is they should talk about it.
So at the end of the day, marriage is a very business arrangement. So when the CEOs of their companies have business meetings,
yes,
you're probably proposing that once a month or every quarter,
yes,
we need to assess our marriage and see what we have and think about who's going to get what on the what if. That's a don't you think that's a painful discussion?
No, they don't have to have a quarterly what if. But I think it's good to have a conversation.
A conversation. That's
quarterly,
what I'm saying. A quarterly conversation.
On how are we going to keep spending?
Annual review.
I love annual
review.
Yes.
So in annual review, we got assets columns.
Yes.
If we have children, because if I remember the divorce, you had an annual. They wanted to know assets and liabilities.
Yes.
They got into alimony possibilities.
Yes.
Spousal support.
Yes.
And I'm like, we already doing all this.
Yes.
Parenting. Oh man, there's so many arrangements with the parenting plan.
So many arrangements.
That I thought it was hogwash.
Yes.
I really did. But luckily, like I say, I didn't have to go through that. But the child support, that's interesting to me because I'm looking at, that's an evil law that I just don't like.
But many people will not support their children if they are not forced to.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've seen it in some of the communities that I come from.
Yes.
So I can remember they used to have sex education back in the day when I was in school.
Yes.
So Officer Friendly came through.
Yes.
Not that they deterred everything.
Yeah.
But, Officer Friendly was, I'm just not here to arrest you. We're friends. I'm going to teach you about guns, this and that. And then you go to the community. Well, y'all ain't over here when this going on. But at least you had somewhat of a role model.
Yes.
Of that all cops are not going to be bad. But if he come to your town, that means you're doing bad things.
Right.
So I learned that. Sexual education, they teach it. And, that doesn't mean that it stopped teenage pregnancy or whatever the case may be. But somewhere they changed the law where it seemed like many of the children that may have blissfully made love or thought they was making love, father the child, then by the time he gets 25 or 30 years old, he's realizing that he's blocked from doing some of everything.
Yeah.
And our politicians need to maybe bring some of these, make it part of our high school education process.
Hello?
Like I'm really feeling like there's no life skills. I have a granddaughter that's in school, and school now is just all academia. It's like no
common sense
stuff. No common sense. Just figure it out. So I kind of feel like have we created an institution of laws that's predatory?
I mean, we should be talking to children in school about all these subjects. You with the financial education.
Right.
How many they wouldn't need you if we would teach more financial education in school, but people just don't have it.
Well, I think when it comes to the marriage or contract, I think we should maybe come together and maybe break down assets and liabilities in a marriage.
Yep.
Just like business people. Break down the spousal, and these are different times to come back and say, hey, these are your spousal rights.
Got one side, you two, and what's the best, whether there's children or not, what's the best way for you two to move forward?
To move forward. And that's really life.
Yep, that's it.
That's really life.
Yeah.
Make a mistake? Okay. How do we pick up? Let's move forward.
That's it.
And before we leave, I want to talk about the article you wrote in Forbes.
Yes.
This is way back in 2014, October edition, I believe.
Yes.
And even though you wrote it, it said the 8 strategies to find the perfect business
partner.
Yes. And I took out the word business and said, it's the perfect way to find the best marriage partner.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Probably the same applies.
The same applies. I could take it out and say business partner as well. I even thought about this with me and my business partner's a relationship with Dynasty Solutions with Nia and my brothers that we do business together and other people. But you mentioned work together was one of the 8 tips. Mm-hmm. Trust. That's why I kept saying that. Wow. The prenups, the way it's packaged, you don't trust me if you bring this up. That's how we feel. The trust. But it's going to happen. It's kind of like a business. It's trust. Yeah, but we're gonna go ahead and sign whatever the case may be. So
right. And we build trust when we have that productive conversation.
Right. A productive conversation.
It helps build trust.
It helps. And when you can't have it, it is a problem. You're absolutely right. But the values.
Yes.
That's before. Hit a little bit on the values. Is there like a set in stone, ironclad set of values?
Did you by any? This is not but did you by any chance see Kamala Harris's interview on CNN?
Was that last night?
Yes.
I did not see that.
Well, here's the point. I didn't get into the political propaganda. Here's the point. They asked her a question about fracking. Now, I don't exactly understand what fracking is, but I know it's controversial.
Right.
And previously, she had said she was against fracking. Now she says she will not stop fracking. But what she said, which I thought was so wise, was, my values have not changed. I still value the same thing, which I take to mean she still wants environmental protection. But I believe now this is what I got from her. I believe now we can do fracking and still have environmental protections.
Right.
And so that's the kind of thing. Whatever we value, yes, we may change, we may grow, we're going to evolve. But if we know what we value.
That's well spoken.
Yes.
That's well spoken.
I really like that about my values.
Understanding
haven't changed.
each other's values, it don't change.
Yes.
But it's like you said earlier, going forward.
Yes.
Going forward. Complementing each other.
Well, complementing skills and traits.
Right.
So a lot of times we find the introvert marries the extrovert because the extrovert acts as the social one and the introvert
the social butterfly.
That's right. The introvert just goes along and enjoys the benefit. Yeah. The one who's good with money versus the one who isn't.
Right.
In any marriage like that, you should give the one who's good with money the job of dealing with the money.
And your last two, one was saying a give and take.
Yes.
And the other said a shared vision.
Well, shared vision is important because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there.
You're not going to get there.
Yeah.
And I kind of almost put that as number one.
Yes. Yes. Could be number one. Shared vision.
It could be number one.
Like, where are we going?
Where are we going? And then the others, even though you listed 8, but when I read your article, I was like, that shared vision was number one. Because
yes.
In my first relationship, I kind of think that got married young, a little hothead. I knew what I wanted to do, what I wanted for us, but the clear vision, and maybe because it was no mentor around, nobody.
Right.
nobody wants your dream. You know, it's whatever your vision is. It's probably different from yours.
Yes.
And vice versa. So, anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us today. And I am probably going to come back with you at a later date.
Okay.
Just to discuss that parental, when it comes to the spousal rights of children, and is how do we address assets and liabilities in a marriage.
Okay.
Because, you know, I would love to have my woman making $1 million and I'm allowed to go fish on the dock or whatever the case may be and do what I want to do. But if it doesn't make as much money, but here's the key, that when you hear the divorces on TV, they always say, well, I'm used to this lifestyle now.
Yeah, but that doesn't really hold anymore.
That don't hold anymore. No. So they're changing it a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you why. The math of divorce is you have X dollars coming in and you only have to support one household.
One house.
One rent or one mortgage, one cable bill, one electric bill, one water bill, one every bill. Now you have the same X dollars coming in, but now you've got two rents, two mortgages, two electric bills. Your children need more clothes now because they need clothes for both houses. So we can't, it is not mathematically possible to live the same way you lived.
You used to be living.
That's
it's
it.
Not
it's not realistic.
Possible. Well, you know, I had a better solution than that.
What?
And I get this from the tax industry. In the tax industry, it says that there's a certain credit for families.
Yes.
And it's called a earned income credit.
Yes.
And this credit says it phases out the more money you make. And once you get over 57 to 60,000, you don't get any more assistance. So I'm like, why is that? I wish that could be applied to say, okay, we go up to 60,000. And if it's one kid, 2, 3 kids, okay. For one kid, if we say that the credit was given 4,000, we'll make sure vice versa to cut it, because what happens is, you know, the term gold digger applies on both ways. It applies both ways. The gold digger thing applies for two people.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having us the opportunity to share a moment with us over here at Common Hood, and great conversation. There's more room to come back to address some of those prenups and postnups. That's what I might just call it. Prenup versus postnup.
That's right.
With Dr. Elinor Robin.
Thank you.
Want to elevate your brand with professional audio and video? At the Gainesville Podcast Studio, we make podcasting easy. Our fully equipped studio and expert engineers handle everything from recording to editing to upload. It is a complete done-for-you podcasting solution. Book your session today and let your voice be heard. Visit GainesvillePodcastStudio.com today to book your session.